Right, so Nigerian men. Hi, my name is Sincerely Owosa. Thank you so much for watching my channel. I upload videos every Sunday and I upload beauty, lifestyle, and straight talking videos. Today's video is going to be a straight talking video about Nigerian men. That took a lot of breath. Okay, number one, before you guys start coming for me, yes, I am Nigerian. Two, I love Nigerian men. My dad's a Nigerian man. As you can see in me and my dad's video together, my dad is a lovely man, as so is my brother. And I think that is the reason why I didn't realize that Nigerian men were just doing the most. I went on Snapchat the other day and I was like, look guys, I've got so many girls that I know coming up to me complaining about Nigerian boys. I need to do a video on this. Give me snaps of you guys' experience with Nigerian men, and I was disgusted. But I decided I'm definitely doing a video, but I'm not just gonna like skim on the outside. We're gonna go deep, we're gonna go inside. First, I wanna for those of you who haven't dated Nigerian boys, I'm just gonna give a little summary of what some of them are like. Not all of them, but some. Seen personally, not so much in a relationship, but more in a domestic atmosphere, is that Nigerian men are very demeaning to women. They can expect quite a lot. So they expect to, well, be treated like a child. They want to, have everything washed for them, have everything cleaned for them, have everything cooked for them, and the only thing that they feel they should be doing, the only thing they think is their duty, is to provide the money or the stability in terms of, a home, a financial bath to land in, trampoline, safety net. That's the one. Kind of leads to, well, it links to the whole sexism thing that I will be discussing later. So another thing that I've been hearing is that another thing that Nigerian men do is that they date a woman and they expect her to also be the chef, which is kind of ironic, seeing as one thing that Nigerian men also love to do is wine and dine women. But I think the reason why they like to do that is because they see women as goals or as targets or as objects. So when you see something okay, girls, if you see a skirt that you really want to buy and it's sold out on ASOS, a lot of us will try and find it somewhere else, but we will not stop until we get that skirt. Am I right or am I right? I'm right. Guys, I feel, with Nigerian guys, I feel like when they see a woman and they have to have her, they see it as a conquest. So they don't actually see it as trying to attain the affections of another human being. They see it as something to conquer. And so they wine and dine the girl, and then when they get comfortable, they change, but they haven't changed. They've just always been like that. And it's just, I think it's quite ironic to a lot of these girlfriends that, okay, it's like, okay, you wined and dined me, but now you want me to be cooking you meals all the time. Or you met me in a club and you thought I looked good, but now that we're dating, you don't want me to go out. Do you guys see where I'm coming with this? You see where I'm going with this? For the feminists out there, I know, I don't like the word masculinity either, but I'm just using it in context of what we're talking about. For Nigerian men, their masculinity means a lot to them, and their self-esteem and their self-worth, I think, is based off of material things, or it's based off things that you can gain, on this earth, like, a woman or a house or a job or a sum of money. You see what I mean? It's not based on, oh, I'm very kind, I'm very giving, I have an ability to not give up in difficult situations. You know what I mean? It's not based on what they can actually do themselves. It's based on what they have. The thing I'm hearing as well is sexual promiscuity, that Nigerian men just can't keep it in their pants, basically. So I'm gonna be addressing all of this stuff. I wanted to know, I was like, okay, right, now if Nigerian men, when I say Nigerian men, as I said, I don't mean all of them, I just mean the ones we're referring to in this video, the ones that fit the descriptions that I've just described for the last couple of minutes. African men in general, I feel like this video isn't just for the Nigerian men. It is and it isn't. I think a lot of the sexism and a lot of the way that Nigerian men treat women is actually very similar to how African men treat women, because of some reasons that I'm about to go into in the video. Yeah, I personally feel like the diaspora, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, I always say it wrong. I feel like the diaspora are an improvement, but the older generation have just the most appalling, at times, not all of them, but some of them, the most appalling way that they treat women, that they speak to women, the things they assume women will and will not do. Not a fan, but it's all right, because I'm gonna go inside. Now, when I was doing this video, right, I mean, a lot of you who watch my videos, you know, if I'm gonna do a video, I don't wanna just kind of skim the surface. I don't wanna just be like, yeah, Nigerian men are this and I want to know why they act a certain way. I want to know, why are you behaving this way? And the things that they're doing, you know, there's a bit in the Bible that says nothing's new under the sun. The things that they're doing must originate from somewhere. I was like, okay, let me do some research. I talked to some friends, I did some research online. I mean, this is not a PhD essay, okay? But I hope that this is gonna give some insight into the way that they behave. Now, there are, for me, what I've seen is that there are at least 3 reasons for the sexism behind Nigerian men and African men's attitudes. 1 is colonialism, 2 is religion, and 3 for Nigeria as a whole, Nigeria as a country, the effect of the Biafra war on generations to come. So that also had an effect as well. But before colonialism, if you don't know what colonialism is, it's when a nation, a powerful nation, comes over to another nation and overpowers it and usurps their government. So they get rid of their government, they impose their government, they impose their laws, and they kind of change the structure of the country to fit what that country wants. So that country then becomes a colony, like Nigeria or Uganda, any African country, and a lot of South American countries as well. But I digress. A lot of our African countries already had women living in communities, and in these communities, they already had mechanisms that kind of helped or dealt with issues affecting women. So they already had systems in place that would help mothers or daughters or women going into work or women going into business, etc., etc., etc. Not be new to Ghanaians, because I feel like Ghanaians have a quite rich history of women in high positions. Something that's not new to them is that in Africa before colonialism, a lot of women held high positions of power. So for instance, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, my fellow Ghanaians, the Akan in Ghana, who is kind of like a queen mother, and they also had queen mother similar positions in places like Uganda and Egypt before colonialism. So having women in high positions of power, in royalty, ruling over a nation, or in politics was not new. It was not something that was new to them, it was something they accepted. Women were seen to be complementary to men instead of subordinate. What a time, man. What a time to be alive. So obviously, as I mentioned, women had mechanisms and kind of like institutions that celebrated and assisted women and women in power. And colonialism, what it does, as it always does, is it came over uninvited and ruined everything. Now, British law has 2 types of law. If you studied law, you know that there's actually like loads, but in this video, we're talking about 2. So 1 is the British law that affected Britain and its European colonies, and then there were tribal laws that affected everyone else outside of Europe. As anyone who's ever studied the suffrage movement knows, colonialists came with this idea that women are supposed to be in the domestic sphere or basically in the home, and men are supposed to be outside doing the real work and getting the money. And when these colonialists came to Africa, they realized that able-bodied men were able to do the hard tasks in terms of hard physical tasks, and women they just didn't see them as useful, so they left them in the rural areas of the country, and the men either went to the urban areas of the country to work or they went into the farms. However, what this did is that it separated families, and some families were actually separated permanently. History they don't teach you in school. There were native authorities that represented Africans, but these authorities were full of men and women weren't allowed to join. No surprise there. And any women who stepped out of line and defied this were quickly sanctioned and put back in their place. And now what we have is that the legacy of that is a lot of the time in politics in Africa, it's mostly represented by men, as it is in England. Like, you can see kind of like the mirror image. In England, it's politics is mostly run by men, or the House of Commons is mostly filled with men. And in African countries, a lot of politicians are male also. Like, you can't make this stuff up. It's got to come from somewhere, and the link is literally right there. Now, I mean, for some of you who may deny colonialists' effect on sexism in Africa, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We'll talk about the other 2. So, religion. I am a Christian, and, you know, those of you who may be watching might be going, oh, she's blaming Christianity for sexism. Hold on. I'm not blaming real Christianity for sexism. Faith and religion are completely two different things. And one thing that Africans love to do is religion. Nigeria and the way it works, I think that religion is a big part of their culture, which is a bad thing. I think that they're very focused on how people see them and how they're viewed, how people outside see them, but they're not concerned with the inside. So they always make sure that their outward actions reflect what Christianity is, but they don't make sure that what they're doing or what they're thinking or what they're planning in their minds, what they're thinking in their minds is what is in line with what the Bible says. So, I mean, you know, there's a word for that, and that's basically hypocrisy. Hypocrisy and religion play a huge role in why women are treated a certain way in Nigeria, because I think there's a lot of policing of women's bodies. I think there's a lot of policing of women's sexuality. The same is not done for men. So the way that they control what women dress like. I mean, there was a bill that was passed in Uganda called the Anti-Pornography Act. Also a bill that failed called the Indecent Dressing Act in Nigeria, I think. And these are all legislation that kind of follow the strict, very conservative Christian moral view, except they're not doing that for men. So you have to kind of question the motive. It's like, okay, are you actually trying to keep the moral compass of your country straight, or are you actually just trying to control women because you are sexist? Jesus always treated women impeccably well. So that it's not even a situation of we're trying to be Christianly or we're trying to be like God, because there's a lot of legislation in Nigeria that is so far away from being moral or Christian. I mean, what about the way that children are able to be married off in Nigeria? And that's a serious problem that hasn't been resolved, and yet you're focused on how short a woman's skirt is when a 14 or a 13-year-old child is able to get married to a greasy older man. I feel like they police women's sexuality, but they allow men's sexuality to continue, and usually that's at the detriment of women. Do you get what I mean? So they allow men to do what they want sexually, and while they do that, it screws a lot of women over. Because, I mean, I was reading once that there's only 1 or 2 rape centres in Nigeria. And the rape culture in Nigeria is so terrible because there's a kind of thinking that women must have deserved it. And a lot of the time when they talk about these moral lessons for sexuality, it's always aimed at women, and it's never aimed at men, because boys will be boys and he's just being a bachelor, whereas she has to be married at 25, and if she's not, she's either a whore or there's something wrong with her. Whereas if you're a Nigerian man and you're 35, it's almost as if, oh well, no one's been able to pin him down yet, no one's been able to change him into a family man. Do you see where I'm coming from? In all, a lot of the sexism culture and anti-feminism culture in Nigeria and the way that men treat women has a long history, and some of it is because of religion, and some of it is because of colonialism, and some of it is because of culture. And I don't really even like to mention culture, because I feel like before colonialism, the culture wasn't anti-woman at all. I mean, there are things that were stripping away women's rights, like slavery, and even within Africa, slavery, and then slavery outside of Africa as well, and you know, Islam and religion and a lot of other things. But colonialism, I think, was literally the thing that just messed up the base. So yeah, that's to me kind of a general, like, really in-depth reason as to why Nigerian men are the way they are, and I think what I've mentioned in this video is kind of like a good summary of why they treat women the way they do. If you have any comments and kind of inputs as to why you think Nigerian boys and men act the way they do, then please leave them in the description bar. As always, not all Nigerian men are like this, but the ones that are, it's all right. Hopefully we can do better, and we can raise our sons to be the exact opposite, and we can raise our sons to be sons that are lovely and kind and generous and treat women with respect and with love and with all the kindness that they deserve. But yes, if you've enjoyed watching this video, please do subscribe. I upload videos every Sunday at 2 p.m. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye.